What's up, whānau? So this is the Prokut Chainsaw Grinder. This is what I use. I'm going to show you how to set it up and the basic angles to use while you're out there in the field. Massive shout out to Osborne Park for hooking me up this Prokut and actually showing me how to set this grinder up properly. Okay, cool. So let's open it up. So it'll look very similar to this. You'll get the grinding wheel and you'll get the base plate as well. So that's the what I've done here is I've already attached the base plate to the bench because it's a pain in the ass to actually set up. So that's what it looks like. That's the base plate there. So this is the grinding wheel, this is the grinding disc. When you buy them brand new, obviously the grinding wheel won't be inside the grinder. So you'll need to attach the suitable grinding disc to the grinder. Pull the case off, put it on, blah blah blah. I don't need to do that because you'll know how to obviously put on a bloody grinding disc. All this video is to show you the basic angles to use, so then you don't mess up your chain like I have. Then some basic accessories. Okay, so once you mounted the base plate up on the bench, it's pretty easy. Obviously you just get 2 bolts and then just mount it on there. So now how this works is, so this will come with a bolt, so that's the bolt, and then your attachment. But all you do is, see this little hole here? Okay, the bolt goes in the back, like that, and then this here, that there, goes where the bolt is. See, that there, inserts into this little hole here. I'll just show you quickly. See that? Just slots in there and the bolt holds it together. So here we go. So I'm going to put that inside the hole that I just had before. So you will need to hold it together. Cool. And then obviously you just have your washer. So that just sits like that, and then the grinder's pretty much set up. It's actually pretty basic to set up. Now that grinder's, it's pretty much ready to rock and roll. Now I'm just going to run you through some basic angles that you can use while you're out there in the field. Now these angles are actually pretty good, but in saying that, they are only the basic angles. Obviously when you start chainsawing a lot more frequently, then you can customize your angles to suit your style of cutting. Another thing when you're setting up too, see this little black handle? Okay, make sure you attach the bolt first on the Prokut. If it is a little bit weird when I started setting it up, well actually we had to try and figure this one out. It actually took a fair while, but you put the bolt in first, you tighten it up, and then you screw the handle on. So that just goes on there and you screw that on. This is actually quite expensive chainsaw grinder, but in saying that, it's pretty gangster. Okay, so now my grinder is completely set up. So I'll show you the basic functionality of the grinder. See the front here? So if I undo, there's like a little dial at the bottom of your grinder. Now that helps you rotate the mechanism to your grinder. Okay, so now see these numbers here? All you do is you match the arrow to the numbers. So if the chain's at 30 degrees, then you put it to 30 degrees here. All good? Okay, so that's pretty easy. The front angle here represents that line here. So that'll be your cutting, that's your top plate cutter. So your top plate cutter is at 28 to 30 degrees. So this down here represents your tilt. So see, I was starting to sharpen all my chains at 0. That 0 represents your tooth angle tilt. So when you file sharpen, hang on, I'll just grab a file and I'll show you. Okay, so that angle that I was just showing you before, see how that's 90 degrees from there to there. Now you can change the angle, so when you file, you can actually file at a 10-degree tilt. So it's the same when you go with the other side, you know, so you're actually sharpening on an angle here. Now I need to exaggerate this angle so then you can get an idea of what that angle does. See, but I've been sharpening these at a 90-degree angle, so from here to there is 90 degrees. So when I hand file, I sharpen at a 90-degree angle. So it's the same with here, like that, boom. And then, so now I know all my hand file sharpening are all at 90 degrees. So that's what that angle represents. There's like a little arrow there. I just leave that on 0. Once you start getting a bit more familiar with cutting and the angles, then you can start playing around with your tilts. But for now, just keep things basic. Leave it at 0. Put your top plate angle at 30 degrees. So 30 degrees, 0. Okay, roger that. So here we go. Now we're going to be talking about the head tilt. This is the back. This is the back angle. This is where the blade actually comes into the tooth itself. The recommended angle for a Husqvarna X-cut chain is 55 degrees. So let's go and put it at 55 degrees. 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Alright, so let's move that to 55. So again, these are just some basic angles that you can use, and honestly your chainsaw will cut straight as an arrow. So I just turn this and rotate it to 55 degrees, and I'll tell you what, that's actually ready to go. This grinder is set up, so let's test it out. Okay, so I'm going to plug this in. I turn that on, boom, that's ready to rock and roll. I usually find the semi joiner here, boom, that's the stopper. Okay, I just want to show you this as well. Now that there actually stops the grinder from cutting too far into your drive links. If I don't have that there, see, I'll just keep grinding. See how it's, if that was going, it would just cut straight into my drive links. See, that's it there. That's your stopper. So obviously if I wind it out, it will stop the blade. So if I have it up too high, then obviously the blade won't cut. See, now I'm winding it all the way out. See, now I've stopped before if I had that going, like no matter how hard I pull down on the grinder, it's not going anywhere. Okay, cool. So I need to set that at the correct height so it actually takes off the correct amount of material on the tooth. So what I'm doing now is I'm winding it back, so then I can find the sweet spot on how much material to take off on that tooth. Okay, so here we go here. So I wind this back. See, this is all you do. You're setting it up. Once it's set up, man, you can actually grind down a chain really fast. Well, you can actually sharpen a chain really bloody quick. So I just wind that back, and that brings this the tooth stopper. So let's bring that back, and then I can just concentrate on my angles here. See, now I need to go a bit more, so I need to come down on my, see, now I can come down a little bit more, probably a bit too much. Boom. Okay, so, and you just measure it to the tooth. The easiest way on how to set this up is you get a new chain and you set up all the angles and you set it up to the grinding disc. So if you have a look here, see, all I'm doing is I'm just suiting the grinder to the tooth. All good? Alright, let's have a look. I actually think that might be at 25 degrees. So if you have a look at that, that grinder sits straight in there now, and that's what you want. And that's all you do. You just set it up to a brand new chain and you can just dial it in. It's pretty easy. Just remember that your top plate cutter is at 25 to 30 degrees, 25, 28, 30 degrees. But all I do is I put a new chain in and I just measure everything to the new chain, and then obviously you can start cutting. Now when you start cutting, your chain will become blunt, but it'll already be set up to your specifications because you've already measured it on a brand new chain. Let's have a look. And that's pretty good. What do you reckon? So that's set at 25 degrees. Look at that. I'd say that's pretty bang on. All right, let's have a look. Ho ho ho! So that there, and all I want to do, because the chain is relatively sharp, I only just want to give it a quick little tickle. Oh bugger! No, here we go. Yeah. Tighten the dial underneath the grinder really tight, because when you clamp the chain with this is what this does. It clamps the chain, it holds it into position, because if you don't, the chain will move when you put the grinder there. Alright, let's give it a shot. Alright, moment of truth. So tilt angles at 0, we have 25 degrees, 55 degree cutting head tilt. Just a nice little one. Boom, and that's it. Holy shite. That looks pretty good to me, buddy boy. So I'll take that off. Let's have a look at the tooth. That's it there. That's what we just sharpened there. That's it there. And we literally just set that up too. Not bad. Pretty good. Not bad at all. Right, I'll tell you what, we're going to use this chain to do some cutting and we'll test it out and I'll show you how good it is. Now let's sharpen all the teeth like that. Cheerio, cheerio. Boom. Okay, roger that. So this side's done. So now I release the dial here. So I just leave this running and then rotate this to 25 degrees on this side. Now I can cut the other tooth. There we go. So, boom, that's it there. Locks it into place. Fuck, motherfucker. See, that's what I mean? Make sure this is really tight, otherwise it'll move like what it just did then. I'll just reset that angle. And that's pretty good there. Alright, okay, cool. Right, let's grind. That's better, that's better. Okay, cool. Lock it in place. Come straight down. And I'll show you how good this chain cuts. These are just some basic angles. So that's all been done now. This chain is complete. So I'll show you the end result. I reckon the rakers are pretty good. But let's have a look at this. That's the chain there, and that's from setup as well. So you saw how quickly I set that up. Let's have a look. That's the cutter there. So it's not bad. And those are just some basic angles that you can use, and I'll show you how it cuts in a second. See, they're all nice and clean. You only want to touch it. Just colour it in. Alright, let's go and test this thing out. I'll put it on my 592. Alright, what's up everybody? Let's test this chain out. I'll put it on my 592 because it's already been dismantled. I've already started to clean it. So this is a 20-inch bar, Husqvarna X Tough light bar. Okay. Rule of thumb, if you ever put your chain on backwards, stop what you're doing immediately and call it a day. It means that your mind's not on the job. Alright, we'll see how we go. Let's see how this thing cuts, son. Tell you what, this chainsaw's fucking loud too. I'll show you how it cuts. Ooh, my man, my man. Alright, let's give it a shot, eh? Let's warm it up. Not bad for some basic angles right there. Those are just some simple angles. Obviously when you start cutting, then you can modify your angles to suit your cutting style. But that's some of the hardest wood on the planet right there. That's Wandu. That is 15 on the timber hardness scale. The hardness scale goes up to 16. Some of the hardest wood on the planet you'll ever come across. That's like cutting concrete, and that chain just smoked it. So yeah, those are the cutting angles. Yeah, just keep it basic on the grinding wheel, and just remember, just color it in. But yeah, honestly, that timber there, it is like hitting fucking concrete, and that chain just ripped it to pieces like it was nothing. That's extremely tough timber. That's, yeah, super hard timber. All right then guys, catch you later. I hope that helps. And yeah, all right then, cool as, axe drop out. Peace.